comments if they have already completed a public participation card? Do we have any?
No cards.
All right, and we don't have any online either, Mr. Jolly?
No, I haven't received any online.
All right. We do love to have you guys here with us at our meetings in person. And if you have comments, please feel free to join us and fill out a public participation card, or you can visit the website and there is a place on the homepage that allows you to place your comments or concerns online, and we will acknowledge them during our regular board meetings. As we move on to item 1.6, we will open up our board reports. There's no board report?
No board report.
All right, we're going to move right along to item 1.8 because we've already done the graduation. Again, congratulations to Mr. Brian Warren. And we're going to have Mr. Bob Ivory to come and make a brief presentation to us. He is with the Students of Promise, and he's going to talk about the Ghana trip.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You need to turn the mic around.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening, distinguished board members, Superintendent Jolly, and the learning community of Warrensville City School District. I appreciate the opportunity to stand in front of you. I will be brief, I hope, in order to introduce what I think is just an amazing opportunity for the scholars here in Warrensville School District and beyond. If I could just take a liberty to share some information, because I'm always excited, one, to stand before you. I think I'm more excited to stand before you on behalf of the Students of Promise in Warrensville City School District. And I wanted to make sure before I get into why I'm here to share what I believe is just as exciting as an opportunity to take a couple of our scholars to Ghana, West Africa. And that is, out of the 45 students this school year that Students of Promise had the privilege of servicing. And this is from, I think, some of the best two linkage coordinators in America, and that's Coach Nikki and Miss Nettis, who shared at our year-end report that out of the 45 students that we served this year in Warrensville, in the first quarter, you had 2 freshmen merit roll, 1 sophomore merit roll, 10 junior merit roll students, and 5 senior merit roll students. In the second quarter, you had 1 freshman achieve merit roll. You had 5 sophomores achieve merit roll, 9 juniors achieve merit roll, and 3 seniors achieve merit roll. In the third quarter, you had 2 freshmen achieve merit roll status, 2 sophomores merit roll, 8 juniors, and 5 seniors. In the first quarter, you had 1 freshman honor roll, 3 sophomores honor roll, 6 juniors honor roll, 1 senior honor roll. In the second quarter, you had 1 freshman honor roll, you had 4 juniors honor roll, and 1 senior. And in the third quarter, you had 1 freshman honor roll, 2 seniors, 2 sophomores achieve honor roll status, 5 juniors achieve honor roll status, and 1 senior. I just want to applaud. I wish I could call it a name, but applaud their efforts, applaud your efforts, because they're thriving within a thriving district, and I believe that is reflective of what the linkage coordinators do every day to help them achieve. So I wanted to start off with some great news, and I wanted to hopefully segue into what I believe is greater news. I was approached and had an opportunity to speak with, I'm sure you may know, Dr. Robin Simmons, who is the president of the Alliance of Black School Educators. So I've been throwing this Ghana idea around for a while with other colleagues and persons in other districts, and particularly one of my attorney brothers in Solon. We were talking at the beginning of the year of how we may be able to partner with them next year as they have done this trip before. And lo and behold, I just happened to have a conversation with Dr. Simmons, and she shared with me that she was awarded or had wrote a grant and got a $40,000 grant and applied it to taking 10 students from the Cleveland School of the Arts to Ghana, West Africa this fall. And of course, I'm blown away. What an opportunity, because of me and how I think I'm always ear hustling for opportunities for all students and all scholars that I have the opportunity to work with. So I went back, had some conversations with myself, looked into some budget line items through a direct congressionally directed spending grant that I was awarded for Students of Promise through the United States Department of Education through Senator Sherrod Brown's office, and so I had resources. But what I did not have was resources identified for international travel. So with that said, I'm trying to figure out how, before I do anything else, is even possible. So fast forward about a week and a half of going, a lot of emails, a lot of conversations, a lot of presentations like this to the U.S. Department of Education, and thank God, it was Friday at 6:30 p.m. I got a call and they said yes, this would be a necessary opportunity that you can use those directed dollars to uh, provide this kind of experience for students. So that conversation involved, I believe I shared it with the superintendents in the districts that Student Promise is presented, and which led me here today. Um, you have two students, which I believe were made for an opportunity like this, and I followed them, I believe, since their 10th grade year. I know for certain, and that is um, Terrell and Terrence Davis, twin brothers who are just to me the quintessential poster children of Students of Promise in every sense of the word. And with that said, as this model has come to fruition and this community driven, I must stress this is a community driven effort. I wish I could take claim of Dr. Yvonne Pointer's trip to Ghana in the past 4 years. Her school that was built there on the name of her daughter, Gloria Pointer, um, Community Learning Center. However, to be included and asked to be able to participate this, not only to take students, but also Students of Promise as a sponsor in this event. So if I could, I think this slide, can I go to the, he just said the next, go to the next slide. And the next slide. Let's see. Because what it would do is trigger me. Okay, there we go. You can keep going. Thank you. So I think I'm kind of in the introduction phase for to say how this came to be and how was it possible. And it came possible, like I said. These grant dollars, congressionally directed spending, federal dollars that Students of Promise was awarded last school year to the tune of I think $750,000. So I had to go through this process to see if those dollars, because there is a line item for exposure field trips and college tours. And so after going through that due diligence, that was brought us here, having a conversation with Dr. Simmons to see how she was able to, have the same success in allocating those dollars. Next slide, please. Just so you can see the team in this presentation. Actually, I can't even take the presentation. This was the presentation that I initially witnessed at the Cleveland School of the Arts when they spoke to parents, and I have modified it since. So as you see, these are the team members that are taking the lead with the students. There's about 15 other adults that are participating. These are community leaders. These are faith-based leaders. As I said, Dr. Yvonne Pointer, Dr. David Whitaker, who is also a dual citizenship in Ghana and the U.S., who has traveled this venture before. So I'm really coming on the tail end. I did not even get this presented to me until mid-June, which was during our summer bridge program, and I was having a conversation with, Dr. Simmons. Next slide, please. So we are looking to go to Ghana, West Africa. I believe Mr. Jolly said he had shared. You may have some of this information already. I'm not sure. If not, I can forward you more than enough information that you can handle. However, I'm just going to kind of speed through the. You should have or will have. There's an itinerary that goes from October the 6th until October the 16th. It is a 10-day journey. Very involved, very detailed, very educational, culturally oriented trip that not only deals with the dungeons in Almina, but also the villages that we will be visiting in South Africa. The children the students that hopefully will participate in this, they will already begin engaging virtually with the Ghanaian students before we leave. So that's the other, I think, asset to this trip is that it doesn't start in October. It actually will start as soon as school starts because there would be a virtual engagement between the students in different continents. Next slide, please. You can continue. Next slide. So you would definitely want to know, like, well, how would students be selected, or what would be the criteria? As you know, you've been gracious in making sure that our exposure opportunities have happened for, this is going on 10 years. Next year would be 10 years of Students of Promise since I came back from San Francisco, and we've traveled the country. So clearly, the linkage coordinators take the lead and who they feel would be a match for a certain trip. The parent engagement piece, what parents are linked to those students that would make it a fit, so to speak. But what I learned and what I really loved about the presentation when I was at CSA was how thought out the academic piece was. That they had a standard, they had a criteria of students that were in good academic standings, 3.0 and higher. Well, so are the students that I believe Ms. Nettis um, and Coach Nikki in Terrence and Terrell meet that criteria. I took it a step further because I'm known to do that. I'm known to see what's there and then try to figure out what else can help elevate the conversation. And that was to require the students to provide letters of recommendation. So these students will have provided letters of recommendation, meaning someone in the community that also sees the same potential. In this case, it is Jackie Bell, retired principal at Glenville. I think she retired. She gave a standing letters of recommendation, and the students were asked to write 500-word essays on why they feel they should be able to experience this. And one thing that stood out, and like I said, everything I'm saying, I have tons of these copies of it, and will make it available electronically if you don't have it already. One thing stood out to me. I believe it was Terrence, and I think in his first sentence he said, in so many words, "You mean all I have to do is maintain?" And I think he stated his grades, and then he said, "And write a 500-word essay." Then he led in his essay and said, "I could write a book on why I feel this would be a great opportunity." And that just touched me. I mean, I'm sensitive like that. That just spoke to me, not because I know this young man, but for him in his own fruition to make that kind of statement. It just spoke loudly to me. Um, in the travel aspect, we will be flying United Airlines. There is the tour company is called HostNet Ghana. And like I say, it is the tour company of choice from Dr. Whitaker, Dr. Pointer that they've used, throughout the years of them traveling. And like I say, I also have that detailed information. They have a very comprehensive safety plan. If anyone knows me when it comes to traveling, when it comes to exposure opportunities, and I do say, and I say with pride, that in the past 15 years, and I'm going back to the governor's office, I've gone on every out-of-state field trip. I have gone on every overnight field trip. Not because I have to, because I believe that that is just a calling of mine to kind of see it through, see that whole process through. So I have gone on every single overnight stay, probably going back 15 years. I can't say I've gone on every local trip, but when it comes to out of town, and if I have something to do with it, I have been a part of that process from the beginning to the end and back. Um, I did learn that there is, because, and it's something that we talk to not only students but families. We're going to a country. It's not like we're going to, Chicago or North Carolina and San Francisco and Atlanta, places we've gone. We're going to an entire country, which means it could be a day's travel to get to the next village or the next region within that country. So there's actually three separate resorts, three separate hotels within this same stay, which is different than we go to Atlanta, we stay at the Marriott. We go to Chicago, we stay where we stay. We go in this trip, then there is obviously a lot more movement involved. Next slide, please. So the itinerary, as I stated, is a 10-day itinerary. Um, in detail, what to me strikes me most about the itinerary is how the Ghanaian students and the schools are kind of engulfed and wrapped in around where we look to travel. There is an installment, which I'm to be honest, that's the first time I actually used that word. I thought it was a misprint when I was typing this up. I thought, oh, I misprint installment. No, that's an African term of installment. So Dr. Yvonne Pointer is going to be installed as a elder in that village, which is obviously a huge a ceremony and recognition that we will be able to experience, but also in engagement with the Ghanaian community. Next slide, please. Yes, this is still the itinerary. So the complexity, I believe, in considering a situation like this, and I can only compare it to the travel that we've done in the past, which has been all in the States. Um, Lexi, this has all been in the States. The tour guide, I think, company has done a great job of giving us what to expect, what to anticipate, uh, things throughout the trip, things throughout the travel, things that are dealt with culturally. The parents received a packet that is very comprehensive of what to expect. There's waivers involved. It is, if you could imagine, because it's international travel, it is not as our travel that we have done over the years, but I think it's very, very well thought out as to what the students can expect, chaperones should expect, those in Ghana that's going to receive us. But of course, I had to. It wouldn't be me if I did not think even maybe beyond what has already been presented. So I presented to the group, to the team, to the organizers that to have this travel, how about if we travel with our own medical person? How if we travel with our own, which we will travel with our own RN? And that will also be a cost that I will take on through the grant that Student Promise has received through the congressional spending. I also thought through because of the, uh, I would say, because of how we're going to have students from different districts. We have community folks. We have chaperones, very much capable. But I felt more comfortable if we had even an additional eye to even watch all of it. So I've also secured a executive protection. So that's not to say, oh, because we're going to Ghana, we're going to Africa, we need a bodyguard. We need no. What we need is someone that they're so focused is to watch what we're not watching. Their sole focus is to be attuned to the environment, the surroundings, even to us amongst ourselves. So I felt that was a value. So I have secured a executive protection that will travel with us. And finally, it's like it's not just about the students that we are hoping to take or the adults that are going to experience it. How do we come back and tell this story to the community? How do we come back and share this educational opportunity of a lifetime with Warrensville and whatever district or whatever city, whatever community would like to know? Well, because I'm going to take a cinematographer with us that's going to document the entire trip. I'm not, shy on investing in documentation. I believe in that wholeheartedly because if you don't tell your story, somebody's going to tell it for you. So why not be able to tell a story of taking students, and in our situation, students that may have never been to the West Side Market before, students that may have never been in the West Side of Cleveland. Well, we hope to tell a story of students going to Ghana, West Africa. I guess in conclusion, I would like to really spend my time answering, I hope, which is a lot of questions or addressing them to the best of my ability. But for lack of a better word, when I had to go through this process with not only the office of Sherrod Brown, Senator Sherrod Brown, but also the United States Department of Education, and that process, and when I got that phone call, and I was prepared either way. I mean, it's close to maybe $47,000 for this trip. But to hear from that level saying that this would be a necessary experience, and you answered every question that our legal department, that our legislative department, and whatever those powers that be may be in the United States Department of Education, to say that I had an opportunity to not only answer those questions, But to answer them on behalf of our students and scholars, I am most appreciative to that opportunity to at least move forward. So with that said, I'm well kind of able to answer or field any questions. And like I said, there's two students, Terrell and Terrence Davis. Their mom would like to go herself, and I come to find that she's an alum of students of Cleveland School of the Arts, which was, what are the chances that would be? And a piece I left out, that there is as a part of the celebration, the Cleveland School of the Arts students are going to do a production to the students in Ghana. The students in Ghana are in return going to do a presentation for us. And then that is why those two students, Terrell and Terrence, just shot of all the great students that Student Promise has in the school. I think because of their musicianship, they're not here because I have been in band practice, and I'm a musician myself, so I could just see them immersed in an experience that hopefully, 20 years from now, they can say they were not only a part of this opportunity, but they were able to share their experience with anyone that they might come across.
Board, are there any questions?
Yes, sir. Yes. Absolutely, absolutely. Fully funded. Matter of fact, it's fully funded out from the scholars. There's no outside cost for chaperones, the scholars. It's 100% funded. No out of pocket expense at all. I even made a reached out to, because I forgot this is very important. Vaccines, shots, which is they were like I think they're $600. Yellow fever, I believe the malaria is a pill, but that would be a cost. That would be expense. So I reached out to Councilman President Pernell Jones and explained the situation, and had the idea. Well, is it possible that we can partner with Metro? Metro is a county hospital. I'm not trying to reach in Metro's pockets, but I do know for a fact from my old hat they get millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars from Chicago County. Is it quite possible that they may help us with providing vaccine, or there's some other medication? I'm sorry, and there's some other medication that you can be prescribed in addition to the malaria. So with that said, to hope address that point, because that is cost. And I received an email back and actually saw the message from the president of Mexico saying we're on. So that speaks to a point that I neglected to say. Like I said, this is a community. This is a community that's wrapping themselves around this event. If I can tell you the folks that are behind this, you would definitely, feel that the students and the scholars are well supported. So for the president of Metro to say we're in, I think speaks volumes to, if nothing else, wanting to be as supportive as possible. There was no cost. Even the we would fly from DC to Ghana. It's a 10-hour flight. We have to get to see DC. How are we going to get to DC? Well, initially they were talking flying, and that had not been resolved. So I reached out to with the relationship with United Black Fund and wrote a little small grant, and they awarded it. So we have transportation, which will be through Greyhound to go to DC. And then Greyhound would pick us back up. So I got an email from Greyhound today because I had this other big, bright idea, and I will not be too much longer. We're going to Washington, D.C. We have the support of our congressperson. We have the support of our senator. Why not, since we're going to be down the street from them, how we not visit them and maybe share with them before we leave our experience? So working with their offices on getting the Capitol tour when we come back. But that meant ground travel.
Yeah. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I think we have two other questions.
Sure.
And I have a question.
No, that's not included. They had to they have to go through their own passport process. And unfortunately, you'd be surprised. I was surprised. My passport was not through. We had students that already had their passport. So yeah, passport, visa, that's their own. This, their version of a driver's license. If you want to go out the country, that's their cost.
I know we do a lot of traveling in the state, but trying to do concerns or insurance.
So I have not been clear.
It's not too late. I'm not being facetious. I think there's a total of 46 slots. I think we have 39. I think there's a student from Shaker that's going now. Pastor Ray Stevenson's granddaughter, who's at Heights, she's at the program, she's at Heights. I believe she's going. I believe Charles C. just sponsored somebody, so I think there's about 6. And I think the capacity is really the hotel, not the flight. It's the lodging. So I think there's like 6 slots left.
Yeah, because that's my question, but I'm going to wait because Earl had a question.
Mr. Ivey, you spoke about Dr. Pointer and like previous experience.
Yes,
this
sir.
trip, this has been an ongoing trip, and we're just joining this year, so the precedent and everything has already been set for this particular experience. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. And I also think it will be an outstanding opportunity for our scholars.
Yes, sir.
So my question is, how we just had only 2 students from Warrensville's program who were, is it qualified or who wanted to go, who were also qualified?
I don't think it was qualified. That's how much money I had left. I actually added these 2.
So with that, you stated that their mother wants to go.
It would be self-pay.
Okay.
Yeah. There's been some. Another parent wants to go from another district, and she said, "I'll spike myself."
Okay.
And I believe there's a Cleveland Heights situation. I think someone sponsored them, but trust me, if I had more money, it would be more kids.
That it wasn't clear, and I want to make sure, because if there was an opportunity for another student to go, then that would be the desire for another young person to have the opportunity to experience this.
Absolutely.
And how many students are we talking about?
Okay. From Warrensville or total?
No, total.
Okay, there's 10 from Warrensville. I'm sorry, from Cleveland School of the Arts. There are 4 proposed from Bedford. There's 2 from Warrensville. There's 1 from Richmond Heights. I know there's 1 for certain from Cleveland Heights, and I believe Shaker is a student. And like I say, those are not programmatic students. Those are students that they're just someone is sponsored for them to go, or it could be a relative that's on the trip that's taking them. But from a actual structured program, it would be Students of Promise and the Cleveland School of the Arts. That's really the 2 kind of structured entities, because our dollars are structured. Anyone else is paying out of pocket.
Yeah, I want to just thank you for the opportunity for kids to be exposed to so much. And I'm looking forward to our 2 coming back to report their experience in God.
We'll send this to our attorney tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. All right, next on the agenda is item 1.9, and we have Mrs. Shannon Thornton, Director of Scholar Intervention and Data.
Yes, so Shannon's going to come up and review our data. We still are awaiting some more information from here. We can provide preliminary update on where we are. We have some gains, we have some losses. Market this year, closed the school, the high school, pretty tough with night breakers and trailers and all the transition that happened at the high school. Our kids coming back from the pandemic and getting adjusted, especially our younger ones who were in kindergarten, trickling up. Us filling those gaps are what we got to continue to be consistent with that. So you'll see some mixes, like inclusion. We did not try understand most importantly. Let's maintain where we are. And we do understand where we did make some changes in the personnel. That is re-intervention of high school, just to feel what our data has done. So with that, I can summarize more at the end of the show.
Good afternoon, everybody. Like Superintendent Jolly said, my name is Shannon Thornton. I'm the Director of Scholar Intervention and Data. And today I'll bring you, like Superintendent Jolly said, some tentative data from the school year that has been released by the state of Ohio. So you can go to the next slide. I wanted to start off because this is what anchors our work academically in the district, is our district goal, and it's something that Mrs. Losar, the director of curriculum and instruction, we try to say at every meeting we have, whether it's at the district level, the building level, our goal is to increase proficiency 7% each year in reading and math through 2026. And making sure that everyone in the district knows how we are going to do it through the use of two strategies. Our first strategy is implementing a multi-tiered system of support for all scholars, and the second one is implementation of explicit instruction practices throughout the district to increase student achievement. So you can go ahead to the next slide. Go ahead to the next one. The state of Ohio, beginning last year, has a new way of measuring district and schools' academic success. So I wanted to just give you a slide that shows the overall rating calculations. So there's 5 components right now that the state uses to measure our ranking. One is achievement, and that's 28.601%. Progress, which is 28.601%. The graduation rate, which is 14.266%. Our gap closing, which is 14.266%, and early literacy, which is 14.266%. The note at the bottom, in the future, I believe it's 2026, they will add the college, career, workforce, and military readiness component that will factor into the overall rating. Go to the next one. And this slide shows breaks down even more each component, and then how or what's calculated into that component. You can go to the next slide. So here is our tentative 23-24, I should say 22-23, excuse me, state report card for this year that just passed. With achievement, we are looking at 2 stars. Progress, which has not been officially released yet, we're estimating that tentatively at 4 stars. Graduation, 5 stars. Gap closing, 4 stars. And early literacy, 2 stars. Early literacy also has an asterisk there because the governor's budget being approved did change some things with the graduation, the promotion score for 3rd grade. So our early literacy score right now is looking like it may be a 2, but it is currently a 1. So I did put that asterisk there, but it should be the 2 with the new calculation and rule changes in the law. And then I wanted you all to look at, like Superintendent Jolly said, our comparison from last year, 21-22, to this year with the tentative stars in 22-23. You can see that last year, the overall rating was unofficial. They did not give any district in the state overall rating because it was the first year. But we were able to do our calculations, and we would have received a 3.5 stars out of the 5-star rating. This year, it's looking like, even with all of the obstacles Superintendent Jolly spoke on, we will be in the same place. 2 stars in achievement for both last year and this year. Progress, we received 4 stars. Progress has not been rated this year, but we're estimating 4 stars again this year. We are excited. I did not know that it was going to be a graduation today, but it spoke so much to our rise in our graduation rate. So going from 4 stars last year to 5 stars this year, which significantly exceeds the state expectation. Gap closing, 5 stars. This year we went to 4 stars. Early literacy, 2 stars, and we are predicting that we will have 2 stars again. Mm-hmm. 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 Absolutely. So if you go to the next slide, it speaks to what Superintendent Jolly was speaking on. Warrensville Heights 4-year graduation rate is 93%. Similar districts are 84%, and the state is 87%. So he was speaking specifically about our African American population, other African American populations across the state, but just statewide, we surpass the district average. So that's something to be very proud of. And then you can also see with neighboring districts with similar demographics what their graduation rates are and their star ratings compared to ours. So that speaks volumes to the work that, like you saw, our amazing guidance counselor, Ms. Berlin, and our other guidance counselors at the high school, opportunities and experiences like what were presented today. That is what gets our scholars across the stage in graduation, and it shows in our state ratings. And so the next slides will walk through our math, reading, science, and social studies state tests. And this is where Superintendent Jolly talked about you will see some highs, you will see some lows, but you will see consistency across. So the first, you go to the next slide and click it one more time. A lot of data there, so I'll try to go through it quickly, but I do want to highlight a few things. So this is our math data for both the 21-22 school year, the 22-23 school year, and then that third column shows whether we met that goal, that initial anchor that I talked about, that 7%. So just because you see a no in red, it does look alarming. It doesn't mean that there wasn't growth or that there isn't consistency. And then one thing we also talk about too is each cohort is different. So fourth graders this year might look very different from fourth graders from last year. So when we're doing the deep analysis, we dig into all of that. But I do want to look at and highlight that the majority of the grade levels and subjects tested in mathematics, proficiency remained consistent, and or you do see an increase across the board. Where you don't see increases, just being very transparent, like if you look at fifth grade where you see that sharp decline, we did hire a math intervention teacher that will be in the fifth grade next year to support our 2 math teachers. So those type of things have been addressed quickly where we hired staff. We went in to fill that obviously that gap there and support those scholars. I do want to highlight some positives. You can go back up. Yep. Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will get to that one. Third grade increased math proficiency. Eighth grade, 6% increase in math proficiency. Algebra 1 had a 17% increase in middle school algebra 1. We do have a cohort of eighth graders who take algebra 1 as eighth graders, and then they can move higher up as they move on to high school. And then we had a 9% increase in algebra 1 competency. So there's a competency score for students to graduate. They need to pass the algebra 1 test. It's different from the proficiency rate. So we are getting more kids to meet that competency score so they can graduate on time. And then the single digit down there, we don't want to ignore that. Our geometry score going from 11.7% to 4%. That was a huge hit to us. We quickly, just like we looked at the fifth grade and looked at the drops, really looked at what's going on in that geometry. Geometry historically has been our lowest. It's the lowest across the state. So we really looked at who's teaching that class, what are the standards that are being taught, what are the essential standards, and what can we do to better support those kids. We also had a change in administration and just organizationally to look at the math curriculum, so that is something that we are addressing. Do you want to add anything, Superintendent Jolly? Yeah.
They were part of math intervention. But I think last year, low was shared with about 4 different people. Changing that. But then you gotta have like people who are specialists. Principal wants to spread it out so that more people can have a hand in it. But from my experience, that's not the best practice. Going back to best practice, so we got one which we should be the relative change.
So, Mr. Jolly, we didn't hire someone for fifth grade already, right?
Intervention math.
Intervention math. And how many teachers teaching geometry right now?
It was 4.
And we still rated.
One philosophy that you want everything to have there and use everybody's strength is not geometry. Some people are algebra.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Algebra and geometry different. Geometry classes. So we want more back to people like geometry.
Okay.
Just because it has, I mean, it does mean teacher, but it doesn't mean
You teach a group. Yeah.
Right.
And
it means you got 7, 12, 15.
So quick question, how
Yes.
will we determine of the math department which of those educators is truly qualified to teach geometry?
I think, well, I know one thing that Principal Bishop did as she took over at the end of the school year, she met with every single teacher, and I sat in with her on every single interview, and we were very transparent and just asked what happened. In those conversations, we had teachers who admitted that this was not their strong suit, which I think, like we said, we're all certified to teach certain things. I'm certified to teach 4-8 English and social studies, but my strong suit is this area. So just having that conversation, and what we discover, which everybody hopes they would discover at first, is that honesty is this is not something that I'm the strongest at teaching. Especially, you got to remember, like Superintendent Jolly said, you're dealing with students who have huge gaps. So geometry is already a difficult subject. So if you're not a master of that subject in the way that you can break it down to people, and then on top of that, that student has huge gaps where they don't even know basic math facts, that makes it very hard for that educator. So I think those honest discussions where is this where you feel more comfortable, or it really opened up, is what happened, was the way she phrased it, and just hit a reset. So we had those conversations. We know who feels comfortable doing it. We know based on value added results, using data, not just what people say. Because who wants to be in the one that was the lowest, who's single digit, and not let that be an excuse, but let them take ownership of it. And also working with Ms. Lozar, curriculum and instruction, really drilling down with myself on each standard and really focusing on what standards do we need to focus on, which are essential to get students across the threshold.
Another thing also is that second of the one would be subject. So you get 2 about the so efficient for this year. Secondly, subjects. Based on the subject.
That's okay.
So again, there'll be another drill down on the ability to look up and down the curriculum to make sure that we're talking standards. Which that wasn't done actually. There wasn't any vertical plan. Opportunity or many opportunities for the work together. So that is in place.
So a term that we use often is highly qualified teachers. So wouldn't we ensure that we've got highly qualified teachers that are teaching this particular subject? How do we identify sooner that the teachers are struggling with it?
Well, I think the data did come back last year when we started with our assessment that we were struggling. But at certain points when the schedule, as the school year progresses, it's too hard to check the schedule to make adjustments. So with that, we wait to the end of the year to make the adjustments. I believe this year there will be more inspect than what we expect. The new building, we last year did the way the building was set up caused issue, having people outside, people were displaced, no excuses. But it was a challenge. I think this year, with everyone being concentrated in certain areas, I think the accountability will be much higher and the support will be much thorough. And I believe that we will have some more intense conversations about what's going about making changes quicker.
One thing we're also adding is right now, this school year, we just had quarterly benchmarks, and now those benchmarks will be twice a quarter. So that gives us more insight. Last year we only had 3, where next year we're planning on having 5. So we'll be looking at the data more regularly so we can identify those gaps, those spots, those things that need to be retaught.
And the reason we're doing that is because we have others in the store. We have to have more frequent checks. One of the complaints you'll probably hear that we take. But we won't know where the kids are unless we we'll start the year and we test. When school starts, guaranteed, some teachers will say they tested every 2 weeks. Well, if we don't test every 2 weeks, we know the 4%.
Right.
That's my opinion.
One quick question.
So we have to test, we have to monitor, and then we got to provide the intervention. As soon as we see something going wrong, that's for the teacher or for the student.
Okay. Just one quick question. Do we have any tutors? Like, you know, when kids are struggling, sometimes they need that extra help. Do we have anything in place that if a teacher identify this kid as really struggling, she needs that extra help? Do we have anything in place, Mr. Jones?
You want me to talk about that? Yeah, yeah. So we have, we don't have in person, but we were able to partner with a company called FEV Tutoring this year. It will be used with Algebra 1 students currently, but it can also be used with geometry. So it is an actual person on the other side of the screen. We piloted it with our 5th graders and also with our middle school this year. Just trying to figure out what type of student it works best for. We upload state test results. We can upload screeners. We can upload just what standards we want the tutor to work with the student on, and they provide one-on-one tutoring to that student. It is costly, so this year we decided, because it was a hard decision, but Algebra 1 is needed for students to graduate. And even if you look at our algebra, even though the 4% sticks out, our high school algebra is still 25%. So that means we have 75% of students who have not met that. Well, it's about 62% of students who didn't meet the competency score. So they have to retake the test until they pass it. So we did want to put our efforts there, because that test is more high stakes for them to graduate. But it is something that we can look into it for our geometry students.
Okay. Thank you.
We can go ahead to the next slide. What the next slide shows, this is 3rd through 8th grade. It is the trend and forecast for 3rd through 8th grade in mathematics in our district. You can see in 2018, 2019 where we were as a district. You can see the huge plummet after we came back from the pandemic. And then you can see where we were last year and where we were this year. So when we talk about progress and consistency, and we see 4% and 25%, we are still on an up. And on the last slide, you'll see that nationally and even through research globally, the numbers are decreasing. They're still decreasing. So the fact that we're still slowly but surely climbing up is a positive. And then the next slide shows our reading. In reading, you'll see more yeses. 4 out of 7 of the grade levels tested in ELA met the district goal of increasing proficiency by 7%. 5th grade, 7% increase in math proficiency. 7th grade and ELA 2, which is another subject that students need at least a competency score to graduate, had a 9% increase in proficiency. 8th grade had a 15% increase in proficiency, and ELA 2 had a 5% increase as well in their competency score. So that's the number of kids who met that score needed to graduate. A lot of our efforts initially when I came to the district were in reading at the primary level. So a lot of work has been done with the team through our secondary literacy plan that we're working on now to increase literacy at the secondary level. We started and planted some seeds this year, and you can start to see the fruits of our labor there. If you look at some of the no's, that's really with our lower students. Those students we were impacted greatly by COVID. A lot of those foundational skills. So where we have a 3rd grade team that's really strong, you're starting to see where even with them, we're trying to build their muscles to address those learning gaps where they're not used to having scholars in their classrooms with such huge deficits. So that's something that we're seeing across the district, not just at the high school level. You can go ahead to the next slide. Go ahead. Yeah.
So the concern is not severe that we have some people below that. Kindergarten teacher will be more than
in addition to doing kindergarten, or they're leaving the kindergarten position and going to the high school?
Our Title I hire, move her to high school. Read. So what she's going to do is take the lowest student in the high school.
Okay.
And teach them.
Yeah.
I mean, go
Okay. That's a good thing.
So we're gonna see, we got a meeting this morning, see if like the college structure, because we want her to touch the lowest student. By the time she finishes with them, and I think she's perfect for a kindergarten teacher. That's good person because they know how to teach reading. They know how to teach people who don't know any letter how to read by the end of the year. So now we got kids who know letter who might have missed big gaps. So I think it'd be easier for her to put it together. Get us, So we are doing everything in our power to try to get our kids caught up. And I'm pretty sure that we'll see some tremendous gains or improvements. So one thing is moving those kids out of elementary school. That's a real busy place. That'll be the, a lot of distractions we encounter eliminated, which I think will get us onto that 4 or 5.
If you can go back one, David, they kind of look alike. Oh, you can go ahead to go to the next one. So if you, okay, they were out of order. So English 2, 2018, 2019, we had a proficiency of 41%. The pandemic, when you look at that 52, it was the one outlier. It was the one that actually rose during the pandemic or right after the pandemic. So we looked at that, and that particular cohort was always a strong cohort of strong readers. So last year, what we saw was a huge plummet down to 30.9%, which correlates with the rest of the data after the pandemic. But going to Superintendent Jolly point, that 40% shows the amount of work that has been put into English 2. English 2 is a double block, so they have their core class, and then they also have an intervention class that everyone gets. During that intervention class, they use a program called Read 180 that's individualized and personalized for each student. Last year, we didn't see as much growth because it was the teacher's first year with the implementation. This year was their second year, and you can see the fruits of the labor with the second year. The implementation is teachers truly understanding the program and truly getting a grasp on how dire the need is for reading instruction in high school. But we also heard from them that it's even deeper for some kids. Some kids need that phonics instruction. So that's where that need for that phonics teacher coming up from kindergarten to support, and she'll be using an even more intensive program to provide intervention for those students. So hopefully we get back up. We're really close to where we were post-pandemic or pre-pandemic. So we're looking to surpass that this school year. And then if you go to the next slide, you see ELA from 3rd through 8th grade. The district trend, we were at 47% as a district pre-pandemic, plummeted to 26% once we returned, up to 38% last year, and this year we're at 36%. So again, that consistency, not the growth we want to see, but really dealing with a different type of student after COVID, and really working through what is the best way to provide good, strong, high quality core instruction, who are the best people to put in front of our students, and then identifying what they need and diagnosing that as soon as possible. In our meeting today, we discussed even bringing those kids in as early as the week of August 14th to start testing, because we don't start school to September 5th, but on September 5th, we want to know what exactly that student needs in reading so we can start September 5th and not wait to October once testing is done. So we're figuring out ways. This is the 3rd year I've been in this position, how to get this moving as fast as possible, diagnose the student's needs as soon as possible, and get the intervention going as soon as possible, so we're not in this situation in February, March, trying to hurry up and close gaps because we're just getting that data.
Can I ask a question? And this is because I'm not an educator.
Yes.
So looking at 38% in 21-22 year, and then a 2% drop 22-23. It's the same group of students, correct?
Except for one left out. So that 8th grade group went to the high school.
Okay, thank you. All right, thank you.
So then you have a new group coming in 3rd grade too. Yep. Okay. So those kids, like we said, those kids were in kindergarten during that pandemic year. This group of 3rd graders.
Okay, thank you.
That's a good question. You can go to the next one. And here's our science and social studies Across the board, we did not see anyone meet our 7% district goal, but you will see that 4 out of the 5 grade levels and subjects tested proficiency rates remain consistent or increased. And I put the math and reading first intentionally. Science, biology, American history, American government, all are a part of math and or reading. You have to have those strong skills. So you can see how that affects our science, biology, American history, American government. So our hope is with the increase of interventions and high quality instruction at tier 1 that we will see the science and American history and government scores increase as well.
And also, particularly in February,
Mm-hmm.
American history.
Mm-hmm.
So there was some turnover in staff there, which I believe resulted in some of the slight drop. The biology who have our established and the American history and all of the government. Those are easy to those should talk about. Or being way higher.
Mm-hmm.
Their memory. That's what I.
Mm-hmm. We can go to the next slide. The next slide highlights, this is not our data, but this is the National Assessment of Educational Progress. And what you can see there is every year they test students across the nation. And you can see their data all the way from 71 to 2023. And you can see this shows the trend data for reading and mathematics for 16-year-old students across the nation. And what you can see that the scores are continuing to drop since the return from the pandemic. In reading 4%, and in math a 4-point change, and in math a 9-point change. So that speaks to this continuous decline, not just in our district where we're seeing consistency with our scores and growth in many areas across the nation. Students are not catching up, and that speaks to the hard work our teachers, our staff, all the outside resources like you saw today are doing to make sure our kids are engaged, they're here, and they're filling in those gaps. You can go to the last slide. And this slide, this summer, we did have our Summer Learning Academy from June 1st to June 30th. And what you can see with the 200 plus scholars that we had in our academy from grades K to 5, 41% of those kids did show growth. That was only a 4-week program. Less than 20 days because we did have one day off for the holiday. And then we have 50% of students in math make significant academic growth. So that just shows in that 4 weeks when we have targeted instruction, high quality instructors in front of those kids, how we can get them to grow. So taking every opportunity to grow our scholars. And then last slide, it's all the stuff that Superintendent Jolly and I spoke on today. The effects of the pandemic are still being felt across our district, across the nation. I know our district is doing everything we can to increase academic achievement, but also respond to what students need socially and emotionally. I deal in the academic realm of it, but I talk to principals, I'm with principals, I'm in the buildings every day, and the social emotional part cannot be ignored. It has had a huge impact on our scholars. So as we're trying to fill their cups with academic, we also have a whole nother sector of our district that's working to re-engage kids, to teach them how to interact with each other, how to talk, how to handle conflict, how to deal with any trauma that they experienced during the pandemic. That's very important. It's important to note that we are making progress on the report card. Even though you do see those dips, we are tentatively going to get the same score we got last year. So again, it's that consistency where across the nation scores are continuing to decline. It's getting worse. We are staying steady. And when we see deficits or we see issues, we are addressing them, attacking them head on, and doing what we can to address them. Some things have never been tackled before, like our intervention right now. We had 6 people at the table, 2 principals who are technically not supposed to be here trying to get this done, still hiring people, working on plans. There's no blueprint for this, just like it wasn't a blueprint for COVID. There's no blueprint from how to recover from COVID. And some people are just brushing it under the rug because their children weren't affected as much as our children work. So we're trying to work through the kinks, but we're doing everything we can, and we appreciate all of your support to get us all the resources that we need. And the district is working. That's all I can say in closing. We're working hard. Our teachers are working. Even though some things were said here about the teachers, I do want to make sure they hear me say that we know they're working. They're doing everything they can, and even the fact that they say as educators, I might not be the best. We just went to a conference and we had teachers there who are learning, who are growing, who are presenting, who are excited about what we can do to help the children in Warrensville. Any questions?
I don't have a question. I just want to make a comment. I think you said it perfectly. We didn't know how to deal with COVID, and we sure didn't know how we were going to be impacted by it. And I think that the progress that you guys have made, even though we kept that steady, constant grade, I think it is good what you all have done. And I just want to say, continue to do the great work that you've been doing, because if we keep at this pace, we can't help but to increase our trajectory. Absolutely. And go where we would have been had COVID not hit. Absolutely. So just, in essence, just keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. But I do want to congratulate Principal Thompson for receiving the Tank Center Award at the high school. The pictures were posted on social media. Also, the community meeting that was held at John Lewis, just to update the community on that. There was some great ideas brought to that meeting. There will be a follow-up meeting. We don't know when. We'll collaborate with the city to discuss that. Again, there has been no decision on John Lewis, what happened to John Lewis, what's going to John Lewis. But we have started conversations about the future of that property. The collaboration with the city also with the food truck, that was outstanding. That is a collaboration with the city and the other cities. The next one will be on August 10th. It is an opportunity for our board and our leaders to interact with the community. It's a great event for all. So update on the buildings, and that's where I'm at now. The Early Childhood Center is on part to be completed in August. We have 2 pending things there. We have the parking lot. Dr. Rock today put out the bid process for the parking lot. So there will be bids, a 2-week process, and then we'll select the right parking lot. So the parking lot should probably be done mid-August in preparation for September start. We also, there's some signage issue here. We're waiting on final organization on signage. And it's some door hardware that's late. So we should get our occupancy permit. We already have an RN going through the process of getting it approved. RN is the identification number. It's like your social security
for school districts.
Okay.
So we got that, but now we just got to get it approved for early childhood, and then we be ready to go. And then the bridge, we did budget money for a bridge. We're waiting on the final design to try to get that thing.
Oh, okay.
So that people won't have to go all the way around, if there's a walkway.
Oh, fantastic.
The high school. So today they started the punch list for the high school. We went around the building, identified any flaws, and that's in the high school area of the building. The athletic area of the building, and the middle school is still not ready. Still tearing down high school, currently school. So there is a meeting on Wednesday at 11 a.m. here to make a final determination if we will be able to start the middle school in November and September. I do not want them straight up along and in the middle of August say we can't start school with our middle school. So we have to know if we're gonna be able to start school.
Right.
Now, as soon as we can, if we do have to start, and this is not plan A, but we do have to start the middle school at John Deere, as soon as that building is on. Like, we did not want them to stay at John Deere to the Christmas. We don't want to wait on Thanksgiving. If we can get them there today, period, we'll get them there. But depending on the occupancy permit from the middle school, depending on how much work they can get done. I was in there today. It is coming along. It's coming along. The middle school area, I mean, the old area looks like the new area. But I don't know all these construction constraints and things that go. So we are meeting with the construction company, our team, Wednesday, 11 o'clock here.
This Wednesday coming up?
This Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
Come up with a final resolution to what's going to happen.
And you'll give us an update on that? You gonna give us an update on
I
the
will give
result?
you an update. I'll send an email to each one of you after the conclusion of it.
Okay.
But we'll be there, because we do not want this to string along, and then our teachers unpack it, impact it, and unpack it. They're gonna unpack one time, that's our goal. Not to have it add, unpack, that. Then we gotta communicate with the parents. This is construction, so there's, no, I can't predict exactly what's gonna happen, but, we're no Wednesday, where we going.
Okay.
Stadium is almost complete. The turf is down. They will be finishing, putting the hash marks in and all the other things this week. They will also be playing this week the not the track, but the concrete around the track. We anticipate that they will be. We will play our first game here on August 5th. That's gonna be our first home game in like 4 years. So August 25th will be the first home game. But the stadium is coming along. Yeah. So some important dates I want to share with you. August 11th, and I'll say this to you, and it is in the document. August 11th, that evening, they supposed to hand the keys to the high school. August 11th. They might not hand them to me August 14th in the morning, but August 11th is supposed to be the day. Okay. They still have a lot of work to do, so they still be in the building and they're still out. Well, August 14th is the date that our staff is supposed to be able to come in. Now today, they were moving the high school boxes in the field. The high school boxes were coming from storage facility going into the field. So that has been done. August 19th, August 16th at 1 o'clock, the seniors will have their walk in. August 16th at 1 o'clock. I will have to get you more information on where they will park and everything on August 16th.
No bus can pick us up.
We'll work on August 10th.
Okay.
But we want to take the seniors to see the building.
How many seniors will there be?
I'm not sure. I'm going to go to the meeting tomorrow. Find out how many.
I was gonna say, I might be able to get the city to bring them over too with the city van.
Oh.
It might be better. It will be better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So August 16th. August 19th at 11 a.m. we will have a dedication service of football.
Okay.
One of the things with
Day is
the board
that on?
permission,
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you. What day is that on?
Saturday.
Saturday. Okay.
That's the same day as the start of the community Warrensville
Festival.
Gotcha. Okay.
So one of the things we have to go back to the elementary school, but most of the time we open these facilities, they have dedication. Type of dedication. So we start with the football field of dedication. Other field. And I'll be a short 1 hour program. Here it is. August 25th will be the first football game that we have. We want to, more information come on about this. It'd be like a tailgate setting. We want to really get people out for this game. These kids have never played at home. And we have currently on our football team never played the game. So we'll get more information out about that. August 26th, that's a Saturday, next day. In the morning, we like to dedicate the early childhood. So same type of program. In the morning,
What time is that?
like 11 a.m.
You said that's the 26th.
This is 26.
Just a short program. We had a rep that maybe an old principal. I'm trying to find an old principal come back and say something. And then September 2nd will be the high school. That's next day.
High school dedication.
That's the dedication of high school. For the community. Just now be the first time. The way I tour students are probably tour our students really engaged. But also attendance today. We do not have a attendance today for the job do we right or wrong. We don't know when we're not doing it. So once we know when we don't need John Dewey anymore, then we will set that day. There's a meeting Wednesday about the battle of the Bands. We don't know if we have a capacity to host it in the football field. I think they might need more seats. So we're looking at getting some additional seats for our stadium. Our stadium fits about 1,500 people. But we have room for more seats. And not permanent seats, but removable seats that could be used at the baseball field. So if you remember, we used to have bleachers removed from good baseball. We still have some. But I think we could use some updated bleachers that can be used for football and used for baseball. Have more flexibility. So that's something that we're looking into. I think the cost of that we could add probably another 800 seats by having those removable seats that after football season they go to baseball. Then they also go in the gym. That's the different way. So that concludes my report. Open to any questions.
I have one question. Not necessarily the report, but somewhat along the same line. So in the last board meeting, we board approved the names of the individuals that we were going to name the different rooms after. So how do we notify them, or how did we notify them? Did we do anything special, or?
No, they have to be notified. So that's the process now. So I'll notify them. I saw a few of them. Saw the Lester people. And I saw the Fuller. So we definitely have to
do something formal for all of them.
Letter.
Right.
That's all my thing.
All right, that's all I had. I was thinking about that. Thank you.
That's it? All right, thank you. That was a good report. Next on the agenda is item 1.11, the Treasury Report.
My report is very short. Just the three items that we have on the agenda tonight. First item is training for technology in-house. The next one is the super design purchase orders. You know, we do that every year. It's the time we set up super current years to set up. Not having to purchase order at the time. And then the last one is the insurance renewal. This comes in either between June and July, and on Ohio School Plan for a member of. And this, in that group, we have to be 7 years ago. And this year we actually have a little bit of savings on premiums, small amount of savings that are listed there. That completes the section.
All right, thank you. Well, then we're going to move right on into our agenda. If I can please have a motion to approve by consent agenda, section 2, items 2.1 through 2.3, Treasurer's Report and Financial Recommendations.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept as a consent agenda section 2, Treasurer's Report and Financial Recommendations 2.1 through 2.3.
Thank you. May I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. Board, are there any additional questions? All right, Dr. Rock, hearing nothing, can you please call the roll?
Yes.
Yes. Newman? Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on our agenda, if we can please have a motion to approve items 3.1 through 3.38, superintendent's recommendations and presentation for board action, certificated staff.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move item number 3 on tonight's agenda, superintendent's recommendation and presentation for board action, certified staff 3.1 through 3.8.
May I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Board, are there any questions in this section for Mr. Jolly? Hearing nothing. Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next on the agenda is section 4. If I could please have a motion to approve items 4.1 through 4.4 by consent agenda, superintendent's recommendations and presentation for board action, classified staff.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the consent agenda, section 4, superintendent's recommendations and presentations for board action, classified staff, 4.1 through 4.4.
Thank you. May I have a second? Thank you. Board, are there any questions?
No, ma'am.
Hearing nothing. Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Gator?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Right, next on the agenda, if I can please have a motion to approve by consent agenda, superintendent's recommendations and presentation for personnel and programs. And this is going to be items 5.1 through 5.13.
Madam Chair, I'd like to move on tonight's agenda, the superintendent's recommendation and presentation for personnel and programs, looking for items 5.1 through 5.13.
Thank you. May I have a second?
A second.
Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded. Board questions?
I have one question, and that's because whenever I see, but whenever I see Beechwood, a red flag goes up in my head. So, Mr. Jolly, for the Beechwood School District, I'm going to assume this is all special education, right?
Yes, ma'am, it's all special education. They have it,
Are they coming to us to bring the service, or you got to take the kids?
no, you have to take the kids. So if we need a student, and this is just in case, we need to send a student there. So right now, we don't, the kids transfer. So, this is who we use on Beechwood for that service.
We've been using them.
Yeah, we've been using it every year.
So I'm looking at 54,000.
So that would be the tuition of one of the students, a deaf student went there, that's what they charge. Or, I don't think that's the one though.
You don't think it's
No, let me get the exact.
But right now, we don't have any student that is here to go there.
Not that I'm aware of.
Oh, okay.
All right, if there's no further questions, Dr. Rock, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Freeman?
Yes.
Mrs. Gator?
Yes.
Mrs. Newman?
Yes.
Mr. Roberts?
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell?
Yes, motion passes 5-0. All right, this brings us to the conclusion of our business. We did not have any unfinished business, new business. Dr. Rock, do we have any correspondence?
No, we do not.
All right, and Mr. Jolly, do we have any announcements beyond those that you gave us with your key dates?
You know, I think the announcement, Mr. Freeman goes into the Hall of Fame Sunday.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thursday, I go to see that Marcus Hope James.
Oh, that's
okay.
Big.
Do you want to talk about that award, what the district gets with that receipt of that award?
Yeah, so with that award, the district receives $10,000.
That's awesome.
That's
Great.
wonderful.
He's a great day. It's also Miss Paula Blaney. She received $1,000 in a master's.
Oh, that was good. Are we bringing her to a meeting to congratulate her, or?
Yeah, we need to bring her to the next one. This is summer.
Yeah.
So, when they start that,
Yeah, that would be great.
Right, right.
and I will say this, I just would like to acknowledge our human resource department. We almost fully staffed. I think we might be one teacher short. In today's climate, to almost be fully staffed is tremendous. So it says a lot about the culture here. It says a lot about our recruitment. And it just says a lot because, as you read newspapers, and you look around, people short. Right. And we are not. And I say it's a blessing to us as a district, but that team worked very hard to make sure that we got and our principal.
Good people.
So, Thomas be fully staffed and how full having a bus driver to start teacher start the year. I'm not on wood, but I think you got to commit that. There's a lot of people short.
Yeah, because I was looking at quite a few resign.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we replaced them. So in this market, so let me say, education has changed from where it was 20 years ago. Now people are free agents every year. They look if they don't like something somewhere else. A lot of people don't know the right words to say. Use us as a springboard to give those other places. They need a job. We provide great training, professional development, and so forth. And then they get an opportunity to go where they really want to go.
Right.
So one of the things our challenge is to find people who want to be with us, that mess with us, that want to be with us, and not use us because they want to be somewhere else, but the other place is not ready to hire them without some experience. So that's a challenge that we face.
But you still have multiple positions where we promoted within.
Right.
Those are all in place now. And to be a month ahead of schedule, it is a great accomplishment.
Right.
Hard work with all of our staff, administration.
And we keep most of our leaders, so our leaders stay because we give opportunity for growth.
Oh, okay.
And I appreciate the board really providing people opportunity for growth because we would lose people that we didn't give them opportunities to grow. And I think our stability in our scores is based upon us having same leaders. When you have all that turmoil and people coming and going, so I appreciate the board being creative and flexible and allowing us to allow our people to grow into new positions and to move growth. So we're gonna cap out in a minute, but we're gonna do the best we can while we can.
Right.
And it's also to the leadership and not changing superintendents.
All righty. Well, with that, I want to thank the board for a great meeting. It was exciting to be able to celebrate Brian's graduation and his birthday. And just, I wish everybody a good evening. If we can please have someone please move to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn.
And may I have a second?
And I will second it.
And at 8:15, our meeting is adjourned. Everybody have a good evening.